diaspora is strong, but there is an issue with the diaspora because people are leaving Nigeria. They don't always want to leave. My own country, Canada, is very cold. The Nigerians who live in, say, Winnipeg, for example, we're now experiencing minus 40 weather a few days every winter on that. And that's, fundamentally not necessarily what we want to do for a larger part of the population, though it's been very, very beneficial economically for a while. But for us, the only thing that Nigeria can export right now that will earn FX for the country are Nigerian brains. But we're talking about people doing work remaining in Nigeria and working remotely on that. And this is something that India did very successfully in the 90s, and up till today, I think they export about $175 billion worth of remote services. We're starting down that path. And because of our infrastructure challenges, our power challenges, our ports challenges, the idea that we're going to export physical goods is not really feasible in the next 3 to 5 years. Maybe a little bit in agriculture where we had advantage cassava, cocoa, for example, cashew nuts, sesame. But we're not going to export manufactured goods into the world markets. We're not competitive. But we are competitive in exporting Nigerian grains. So we're putting out a paper in the next week or two, which basically argues that we need to build about 2 million brain economy jobs in Nigeria, working remotely in Nigeria, but earning FX, or participating in global value chains. And that's the path out for Nigeria. Now, the good news is we've already started down this path. So there's more and more. I'm sure there are people who are listening in on today's show who work remotely, perhaps as an individual who get paid FX. That's been happening more and more. But on the organized sense, we already have companies. The one that I like to cite, I'll cite again today, founded by national heroine Amal Hassan. So this is Outsource Global. Amal is a woman techno entrepreneur from Kano originally. She has 1,000 people in Abuja and Kaduna who serve foreign clients, earning FX for all university graduates, all able to earn a good salary in her shop, earning FX for the country, able to support their families, to build homes, to go to restaurants and drive the economy. That's where we need to scale up on that. And the number we're going to put out in our report is in 10 years, we'd like to see 2 million remote workers. If we have 2 million remote workers participating in high value, global value chains with high salaries, we're going to be fine economically. But that for us is the best path forward on that. And that gives us reason for optimism because it's really starting to happen.
Doctor, if we take a look at some of the things you've said, ICT, and perhaps let me also add some other fast-growing sectors. According to the GDP of the NBS, because I'm taking a look at it now, you're seeing sectors like road transport, air transport, and all of that. Those are sectors, industries that really grew in the second quarter of 2022. But we also do know that these sectors do not have the highest employability in terms of labor in Nigeria. So how do we really even equate this? If you take the ICT, which you've mentioned, will really not employ so many people in Nigeria, just a few that have even digital skills and all of that. So what should be done to make perhaps those sectors attract more employable people so that we have that are employing the majority of Nigerians to improve on what they are doing?
So we can be very clear. I mean, obviously, what I talked about at ICT and remote work is to earn the FX. So if we have, say, 2 million ICT workers working remotely, earning $50,000 that's $30 billion. It solves our FX problem. But it doesn't, as you say, solve the employment problem. What will solve the employment problem, and we've been very consistent for 6 years, is the residential real estate market. So everyone needs a place to live. Everyone wants to own a home. It's been difficult because of reasons I think we all understand, some of them logistical, and some of them having to do with regulation, the Land Use Act. But there's been a lot of progress on that. But if you want to translate the wealth, so if you just take an economic model where you have these young Nigerians earning significant salaries in ICT, they're all going to want to buy a home. They want to spend their money in Nigeria. They want to buy their parents a home. So what we need is residential real estate to take off. So we published an article paper a few years ago talked about dead assets, and the largest dead asset, of course, is real estate. Now, fortunately, again, what gives me reason for optimism is that I think over the past few years, this has really become well understood. Every state governor has started a program where they're trying to track, because real estate doesn't function unless the land use system is really well worked out. So you know who owns the land, you know how to transfer the land, you know how to collect the appropriate taxes on the land. And of course, the governors are really motivated by the IGR issue because the best way to tax is actually land tax, the most efficient tax, which was shown by the very famous English economist David Ricardo about 170 years ago. So that is already started. So if you ask what's going to drive employment here, I think it's going to be residential real estate, number one. The two other areas that we think that are very important are health and education. Now, this country imports at least $3 billion of health and education every year. And what do I mean by imports education? When someone goes and studies abroad in Canada, for example, or in the UK, that is an import of education because we're using our for FX, our Naira, which we have to turn to FX to pay for that education abroad. So in terms of both driving employment and really improving the economy here, to the extent that we invest in education and healthcare, we're able to have more people educated here, more people having their healthcare here. We're really going to benefit in every way, but including economically. And of course, education and healthcare are really also big drivers of employment on that. So the basic elements of the strategy for us are, in terms of export, we export Nigerian brains, brain capital we call it, working remotely in Nigeria. Of course, the diaspora is still there and growing and becoming more economically powerful. That will address our FX issues. And domestically, the industries that we should focus on, of course, obviously the broadband infrastructure, because that supports the exports of brain capital. But the three major industries we'd like to see focus on are real estate, particularly residential real estate, healthcare, and education. I think if we do those things, you're going to find very rapidly this country could turn around economically and socially.
All right, Doctor, let's talk about the oil sector and the industry sector, so to speak. The oil sector, of course, contracting. This is not a new story. We've seen the jeopardy that the oil sector in Nigeria has been experiencing, and it's such a very sad and upsetting one at that at the time where oil prices are going up, Nigeria's oil sector is nowhere to be found in all of this. We are not even gaining from that. What can be done to the oil sector to make its fortunes better? We've seen the commercialization of NNPC. Then the second part of the question is the industry sector, which contributes about 19% to Nigeria's GDP. Services at around 57%, agriculture within the band of 20-something%. Are you of the school of thought that Nigeria really needs to industrialize, that our GDP should be skewed more to industries than agriculture? Because the lacuna there, or the nexus should be, we should have an industrialized Nigeria, then we see other sectors kick off.
Let me answer the last question first on that. We don't see manufacturing as the optimal path for Nigeria. Now, we understand people look at examples like China, which I went to the first time in 1983, lived for 10 years. So I've seen the industrialization of China. Vietnam going down a similar path. Korea, of course, starting in the 50s and becoming a wealthy country on that. But we're in a different situation now on that. We don't have to necessarily follow those paths of development. I mean, we already export brain capital, which is higher value added than certainly low-end manufacturing. So why would we, given we've already proven we're competitive on a world stage in terms of export of BPO services, of coding for development, of animation, call center services, why would we go backwards and start with low-end manufacturing, particularly given the logistical challenges that we've said? So we're coming out very strongly to say, we're not taking the Chinese or the Korean model. We're taking a new model, and of course, it's all been changed by the advent of technology and COVID. I mean, the idea of remote working, I mean, in the 1990s, it was a relatively new thing. India was very powerful at the start of all of these processes. It really helped in their prosperity, enormously in their prosperity. But it's even easier now today to start down that path because...
Okay, Doctor, I think that's as much we can take at this time. We've got to go, but we've gotten your insights. Thank you so much for this analysis this morning. So we've got to go. Moneyline with Nancy on African Independent Television comes to you again tomorrow, 11 a.m. I am Nancy Najibu, the best you can be, and bit of change that you want to see. We'll go straight ahead to River State, where Governor Wike is ready to commission projects. I'll see you all tomorrow.